So let's get into the Fantasy Rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
All right, guys, you ready for this?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right. Le'Veon Bell, torn MCL, out for the season. They're expected to put him on IR.
Expected. Nothing's official yet with Lev Bell, but that's all the news right now.
Steve Smith, torn Achilles.
That one is official.
And Jim Harbaugh said he thought he wouldn't retire. He'd want to come back from it.
I don't know
retire.
if he can, man.
Yeah, that's the question is, this isn't will he, how good will he play? It's will he play again?
Yeah, Matt Forte, we're still waiting a little bit more news from him. But it's an MCL, right?
Yeah, the initial report is that he has an injured MCL. We don't know the degree of the strain, or I think it's strain. I think that's the proper medical
they're
word.
talking multi-week, though.
Are they?
That's the last I've heard is multi-week, yeah.
Oh, I've not heard that part.
So wait and see a little bit on the final report on that. But yeah, Langford will fill in for Forte. And he did play through a sprained MCL back in 2009. So it just, maybe he misses a game. Maybe he misses two. But Langford's a nice jump fill-in type of guy. Reggie Bush, the man I woefully spent $10 a fab on like Saturday morning because I thought he'd be the starter over Hyde.
If you are Reggie Bush...
Torn ACL, by the way.
Torn ACL. The outside surface of the Rams playing area got somebody again. This is back-to-back weeks.
It's ridiculous.
He
looked pissed.
I can't even imagine how mad you are. Like,
how much money did they cost him?
Speaking of careers being over, Reggie's going to be 31, I think. He's an older running back, and now a torn ACL.
That relies on quickness.
It's like his career could be over as well because some idiots don't just pay a couple extra bucks and turf out the rest of the area.
That'll be discussed.
So you picked up Reggie Bush, right?
Yeah.
Who'd you drop?
CJ Spiller.
And who else got injured? Kyrie Robinson.
Oh, man.
Kyrie Robinson broke a leg is what it looked like.
Yeah.
Did we get a final report on that?
I have not. What are you reading right now, Jason?
That's what I'm reading is almost certainly broke his leg.
He was in an air cast.
Yeah.
So that's not normally a good thing when you're in an air cast being carted off the field. So, yeah, just add him to the list. Cameron Wake from Thursday, torn Achilles. Ricardo Lockett got knocked out.
Yes.
Brutal.
Concussion. Not that he's on fantasy teams, but just another guy that, it was such a brutal injury. Keenan Allen went down on that amazing corner touchdown catch. He has, apparently it says back spasms.
Yeah, so that's good news because the initial concern was, did he re-aggravate his hip, which he had injured a couple weeks ago. So if it's just back spasms, you would think that moving forward he'll be able to play next week, but you got to monitor this situation here.
So what happened to Calvin Johnson?
Calvin Johnson came down. He went up.
So he left the game, right?
Yes, he went up for a nice grab, came down funny on his ankle, and I'm not sure how beat up he really is with that ankle. Are the Lions on bye next week?
I don't believe so.
They aren't.
I don't.
I'll check that out. But
I can't remember.
So it was and because the score, the game was way out of hand. So it might have just been one of those. Yeah, it hurts. So I'm not going to push myself through it.
All right, I'm going to go through these ones fast. You guys tell me if you want to talk about somebody. Josh McCown out with a shoulder. Eddie Royal with a knee. Larry Donnell with a neck. They're saying that's a back spasm issue. Orleans Darkwa went out with a back injury. Dwayne Harris with a knee. Kendall Wright with a knee, and Brandon Marshall had two separate injuries that he came out and said they'd have to be evaluated this week. One was a toe injury, and another one, I believe, was a knee injury. And he came back after both. I saw him wrapping up his ankle. So
yeah, played through them, but you never like seeing a guy getting nicked up. Those things take a toll as they, especially if there's multiple injuries, you're not going to be able to make your cuts as quick and things like that. Also, Larry Fitzgerald, we saw him
ankle.
roll his ankle.
I believe he came back in the game, so he should be okay.
I know we're probably leaving out about 50 other injured players. This was just nuts. There's 12 guys went down for the Chargers.
One thing we didn't say, Ryan Fitzpatrick's injury could be a multi-week injury.
I was going to get to him. He's the besides the Brandon Marshall injury to himself, I think the Ryan Fitzpatrick injury is a bigger deal. He has a torn...
It's a huge deal.
Or not torn, but I misspoke. He
Damaged
has ligament damage to his left thumb. He could not grip the football is what they were saying.
He couldn't grab it.
So let's ask Andy, because Andy is Mr. Jet right now.
I got Ivory, I got Marshall, and this is terrible
You got
news.
some serious Jets shares going that you are depending on. How are you feeling about Marshall and Ivory moving forward if Geno Smith is the quarterback?
My concern is, believe it or not, it's much more with Ivory than it is with Brandon Marshall. Brandon Marshall, I look at very much in the same vein that I would look at DeAndre Hopkins, where the targets have to come his way because they have to come his way. It doesn't mean he'll be as productive because they're not going to be down the field scoring as often without Fitzpatrick behind him. But that the offense efficiency and the fact that they're not going to be in that position as often is what kills Ivory's situation for me. Now, Ivory he had a terrible game. He still had a goal line carry. He got stuffed. He was 15 for 17, something like that. I mean, just a terrible game for the Jets all the way around. But yeah, I'd be a little bit more concerned with Ivory just from the perspective of, once Bilal Powell comes back, Ivory's not going to get these. I mean, he's racking up his points by catching 3 or 4 passes, even if he has a bad game and doesn't score. So that's kind of how I'm looking at it.
Yeah, that's fair. And the Eddie Royal injury would put Marquise Wilson back on the wide receiver 3.
That is a great point.
Area.
Yep.